Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Praveen Ramesh and I'm a marketer based out of India. So watching YouTube videos was or is one of my favorite pastimes, and I thought it's time to kind of jump in front of the camera and start talking about something, right? So I read a lot of non-fiction books, and I thought kind of start reviewing or deconstructing these books in a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 format, right? So what is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? 5 lessons that I learned from this book, 4 of my favorite quotes, 3 of my favorite chapters, 2 reasons on why you should be reading this book, and 1 big lesson or 1 big takeaway that I would remember from this book. So that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 format. So what are we going to be talking about today? So it's one of my favorite marketing books. It's called 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Not sure if you can see this on Kindle, but yeah, so that's the book. So it's written by Ries and Jack Trout, and I think it was published in early 90s, 1993 if I'm not wrong. So it's a marketing classic. So in case you choose to buy this after seeing this video, I've dropped in a link below. So let's get started. What are my favorite lessons, right? So first one, perception is everything in marketing. It's not something that's newly said in this book. It's been an age-old saying, but it was kind of a quick refresher for me. It hit, as a wind on my face, right? So perception is everything in marketing. The products that you buy, the products that you like are not, very objective in nature, right? Because you like these products or you buy certain products only because they fit into your perception of truth, or they fit into your perception of a worldview, right? Because and one more thing, right? Let's say the best products in the markets are the ones that would be winning, right? We would have only one product that all of us would be using, but no, there are product A, B, C, any given category, and there are buyers for each of these products. The reason? Because marketing is all about perception, and as a marketer, your job is to kind of reinforce the perceptions in your prospect's mind, right? So that was my biggest lesson. Perception is everything in marketing. Second thing was, this book starts off with the law of leadership, where it kind of says that it's better to be, wait, let me just pull that. It's better to be first in the market than to be better in terms of features or anything, right? But more often than not, you're never going to be the first in the market. So how can you overcome that? So Ries and the authors kind of argue that you can be better by creating a category of your own. What's the advantage here? So when you promote your service, you're not just promoting your service there, you're promoting the entire category. So a good example of this from the B2B world that I operate in is by Drift, where everyone pretty much was selling chatbots, right? So they started a revolution called no forms, and they started this conversational marketing, right? So they created a new category called conversational marketing, conversational sales, basically talking about how you can finish a marketing or generate a marketing lead or finish a sales through chat, and that became a whole new category. So while promoting their product, they weren't necessarily doing that, but they were promoting a whole new category. So that was my second lesson, right? So if you're not the first into a market, always keep thinking about whether can you create a new category of your own. Thing that appears in Rework as well by Jason Fried and DHH, the founders of Basecamp. They also talk about it. Probably will keep that for another review. One interesting thing that the authors argue here, we all of us have ladders in which we remember brands, and more often than not, we try to emulate the leader when it comes to being or creating a perception in the prospect's mind. And you know what? That's the worst way to do it, because let's take the example of Salesforce versus Siebel software, right? So Siebel was there, and if Salesforce had emulated what the leader was doing, they would have probably been lost in the crowd, right? So what did they do? They took on the leader and they created an opposite proponent, and hence it kind of divided the target audience, right? So emulating a leader is never a good idea. So pick a proponent that you think you would stand for, and boom, you would have a fan following for you. Another recent example is Gmail versus Hey, right? So a brilliant strategy where they took on emails in general, and particularly the likes of Gmails, Yahoos of the world. So that's a brilliant strategy if you want to kind of think about, hey, how do I want to position myself in the prospect's mind? So that was my third lesson. Fourth It's successful marketing programs are not built on fads, right? Just think about it for a second, right? There is a new channel that's popping up every other day, and there is a new marketing fad, there is a new hack, there is a new growth hack that's coming in, and everyone wants to jump in on that. But the most successful marketing engines are never built on fads. It's built on trends, and it's built on consistency, right? So here in this book, there's a very interesting example about Elvis Presley, right? Purposefully limited his public appearances because he kind of wanted to extend or kind of dampen the fad to make it into a trend. So he would purposefully avoid his public appearances, and then every time he appeared in a public event or at a concert and stuff like that, that would become a big news, right? So try and see how you can dampen the fad and try to build a successful trend for your marketing channel. And the fifth lesson that I really like: success leads to arrogance and arrogance leads to failures. We've seen numerous examples of brands that have been brilliantly built from ground up, and only because the arrogance kicks in and it starts to fall from there, right? They're often and there are numerous examples again in this book that's being quoted, so I don't want to get in there because it's self-explanatory. So those are my 5 lessons that I would take away for me, right? So perception is everything in marketing. Category creation can save you if you're not the first in the market. Picking a fight with a popular or picking an opposite proponent is going to ensure that you stay in your prospects' minds for a longer time. Successful marketing programs are never built on fads. And the final one: success leads to arrogance and arrogance leads to failures. So those are my favorite lessons. Moving on to what are my favorite 4 quotes from 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. It's better to be first in the prospect's mind than to be first in the marketplace. Right, so this is the second chapter of this book, I think second or third, where it says the law of mind. So you must read it, where they also kind of talk about how you can be the first in the prospect's mind. Second thing, right, it's about narrowing your niche or narrowing your focus. You can't stand for something if you chase after everything. Right, you have to be something for someone and you can't be something for everyone. My third favorite quote: the single most wasteful thing you can do in marketing is to try and change a prospect's mind. Wow. So it goes back to, again, marketing is a game of perception, and if a prospect has already made a perception about brand A, no matter how hard you try, you can't change how they perceive brand A. All you can influence is how do they think of you or how do they perceive you. So that's my third favorite quote. And my fourth and final favorite quote from this book is: when you're first in a new category, promote the category. In essence, you have no competition, and you're also not just promoting yourself, you're promoting a whole big category. So those are my favorite 4 quotes. So what are my 3 favorite chapters? So my 3 favorite chapters, I'm just going to rush through this. There is this chapter on the law of focus, or having a focus word in your prospect's mind. Think of all your famous technological brands or B2B brands, right? The most successful ones are the ones that you can associate a word or an emotion with those brands. For example, Apple, design; Coke is happiness; German cars, the drive experience. So most of these brands have ensured that you remember or associate themselves with one word in your mind. And I'm just going to read this out. You burn your way into the mind by narrowing the focus to a single word or a concept. Think about it. What does the prospect want to remember you as? So that's the reason it's one of my famous focus. And it obviously talks about you can't position yourself on a word that doesn't have an opposite proponent, right? For example, I can't go out to the market and say, hey, I am an honest marketer, because no one is going to tell on the opposite side saying, I'm a dishonest marketer. So ensure that the focus word is something that has an opposite proponent. What's my second favorite chapter? I think it comes towards the end of this book, called the Law of Candor. Again, it's about embracing your shortcomings and failures and using that to your marketing advantage. So what do I mean? Okay, so at the start of this video, I did tell you that I'm new to this YouTube channel. So what did I do there? By telling you that upfront, I've kind of prepared you for all the shortcomings that's gonna come on my way. Maybe I'm gonna repeat myself. Maybe you're gonna have a lot of pauses or repetitions. So I've kind of prepared you for that, and you're already more forgiving now that you've come this far in my video. Now translate that to a brand, right? So not everybody is going to love your brand, and obviously your brand is going to have a few shortcomings. So what can you communicate it best with your prospects? For example, if I'm a B2B brand serving small small businesses, probably I could run a sales collateral or a webinar saying why do or what are the biggest objections that people say when they buy our products, right? I could say objection A, objection B, objection C. But hey, you know what? Objection A and B is something that I cannot do anything about, but objection C, this is how I handle it. The moment you say that, show your vulnerability to your prospects, they're going to be far more forgiving than you think. So try this, and I've kind of implemented this in my day-to-day marketing job, and it has done wonders. So do try this. And my third and favorite chapter is something that I spoke in 5 lessons, is picking a fight or the law of opposite. So I think we've spoken enough about it, so I'll move on to the 2 reasons why I feel you should be reading this book, right? So one thing is, as marketers, we're often lost in the execution tactics and what's happening around us and stuff like that, right? So this book kind of acts as a refresher for me. I reread this every year to give me like a 10,000 feet level of how to think about marketing, what am I going to be doing this year, and acts as a refresher to kind of think about the bigger picture than always being lost in execution. So that's one reason. If you're someone like me who's so lost in execution, this book is kind of gonna help you overcome that and provide you with a bigger perspective. Second thing, it's a short and crisp read, loads and loads of examples from brands that you and me love, and each chapter, right? So let me see. Okay, so this is chapter 1. Is kind of summarized this way, right? So each chapter you go, there is a 1-line summary of what that law is, right? So it's a short, crisp read that will kind of put a lot of things in perspective for you. So those are 2 reasons why you should be reading this. And the one big idea that I would take away from the aspects that's covered in this book is at a very, very philosophical level, just tells you, having a position in your prospect's mind or having a perception in your prospect's mind is the biggest asset any marketers can have. And the sooner or the best way you can choose to achieve it and sustain it, the more successful you're going to be as a brand and as a marketer. So those are my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I've written a couple of blogs, around the law of candor and, other things. I've added links to those in the description below. So feel free to tell me what book I should be reviewing next. Until then, it's Tada Bye-bye from Praveen. Thank you.